Hey travelers, Mag and I here on day 201 of our trip around the United States. This morning, we're starting things off on Magic Island in Kerrsville, right in the middle of the Guadalupe River. Now originally, we weren't even supposed to come into Kerrsville. Our route had us using the interstate to skip right around it, but it was the best place for us to bed down last night, and seeing as how we were already in town, we could not resist coming here to Magic Island to be able to grab a virtual and get our day started off in this beautiful spot. Today's route has us covering 370 miles, and this is our final southern push in Texas. From here, we're going to be zigzagging our way south through the day. We're going to make it through Uvalde, Pearsall, and eventually bring our day to an end at Carrizo Springs. It has warmed up just a little bit more today, and it feels fantastic out here. It's still a little chilly. The water is a little frozen over on the river just behind us in the spots where the flow is not too heavy, but just a little bit. Enough to discourage either one of us from going for a swim this morning. But who knows, maybe later in the day, we'll jump in another river. Probably not though. I'm excited for what today has in store because it is warm enough that I can enjoy it, and we can go more than a few feet from the car without freezing our butts off. That by itself is going to make it great. Everything else from there is golden. Let's see what the day has in store. Come on, let's go.
Well, I will always think of this place as Magic Island, not only because of the enchantment we felt here, but because of the name of the virtual listing is actually called Tranquility Island, a 7-acre, cypress-lined island in the middle of the Guadalupe River. It is a smaller and arguably the most beautiful part of the larger Louis Hayes Park, which covers 64 acres in the area around it. This early in the morning, and on such a cold day, there were only a couple of people anywhere near the vicinity of the park to be seen. This made the ideal location for Ai-chan and I to enjoy a morning walk, take in the views with the ducks, and cross the bridges back and forth across each side of the Guadalupe River. As the county seat of Kerr County, and with a population of just about 25,000 people, Kerrsville would be the biggest city we would see all day long. The city and the county are named for James Kerr, a major in the Texas Revolution and a friend of the founder, Joshua Brown, who had settled in the area to start a shingle-making camp. While there are many notable pieces of history to be found here in the city, as you've already seen, it's best known for its beautiful parks along the Guadalupe River. Out of Kerrsville, we wasted no time at all making our way down to Bandera, the county seat of Bandera County and the Cowboy Capitol of the world. In Pleasanton, we discovered the birthplace of the cowboy, and now in Bandera, we're in the Cowboy Capitol of the world. So what's the difference? More than anything, it would seem the answer to that question is branding. These two towns have a lot in common in that regard. Bandera was an important staging area for the great cattle drives of the 19th and 20th centuries. Cowboys herded cattle through Bandera while traveling on their Western Trail, one of the most important cattle driving paths in the U.S. While the need to drive cattle over long distances has waned with the rise of technology, the cowboy heritage lives on. Whether through the murals and statues featured at the Western Trail Heritage Park, or the collection of more than 40,000 artifacts and memorabilia at Frontier Times Museum, there is plenty of cowboy history to be found in this town. There are also many opportunities to immerse yourselves in the feel of the cowboy boots, whether through listening to country western tunes at many of the venues around town, or stumbling into one of the gunfights held by the Bandera Cattle Company along Rattlesnake Ridge on Saturdays. Seeing this cowboy herding this head of cattle across the river was all I needed to go check out the Medina River for myself. Emerging from a spring in Edwards Plateau in the northwest end of Bandera County, the Medina River flows around the edges of town with bridge crossings on both sides. The flow was running significantly heavier in some places rather than others, but it made for a great view on each side. We did find our standard fare geocaches today, pill bottles and guardrails and micros along fence lines, but there was also quite a wide variety of other types of hides to find around the Bandera County area. Whether through their unique placement or interesting camouflage jobs, many of the geocaches we found today were quite a bit of fun, and we ended up leaving a lot of favorite points behind. I see you are as interested to take a look at this swag as this container is to take a look at us. And just from my perspective, finding an ammo can of any shape or size always makes the day better, even if there's not too much to find inside, as this one has had quite a bit of water intrusion. And although this camouflage job was doing little to help the container blend in, it sure was doing a lot to help it represent its placement in the cowboy capital of the world. It's always cool to stumble across an area where there are great hiders putting out great geocaches.
This geocache is quite the contraption that'll boggle your mind here. We've got locks on the side with keys, locks on the front. We've got keys screwed on the side, this side and this side. We've got the rod here that you can pull with some doodads here at the bottom too. Now there's a lot going on with this gadget cache. Where to start?
After leaving Bandera, we passed in and out of several small towns through the day, but Hondo was the one that jumped out at us with several patriotic displays. Just off the main road, I could see a park named Veterans Memorial Square with a big X in the center of it. This was all I needed to know to discover this monument to World War I and World War II veterans. In Uvalde County, we stopped into Fort Inge to take on our biggest adventure of the day. Formerly known as Camp Leona, this was the site of the 1849 U.S. Cavalry Post inhabited by people and wildlife for thousands of years because of its protected location. In fact, archaeological evidence unearthed in this area indicates that people have been living here since as far back as 6000 BC. The remnants of the fort still remain protected to this day by Mount Inge, an extinct volcano that rises 140 feet over the landscape below it. With an Earth cache listing at the top and a plain as day trail visible from the satellite imagery, I could not resist the urge to climb up to the top of Mount Inge. And with a little bit of coaxing and encouragement, I was able to get Aichan to join me on the hike all the way up to the top so that we could both enjoy this amazing view of the landscape below us together. She was most motivated for the trip down, however, as this meant no more climbing. As soon as we began our descent, there was no more encouragement required. She smelled the trail we had taken and steadily made her way back down step by careful step. The hardest part for both of us to traverse is the band of loose rocks somewhat near the top of the mountain. This is the kind of spot where you want to step carefully and make sure that the rock you're stepping on has solid foundation below it before you commit all of your weight. She may be a 15-and-a-half-year-old geodog, but she can still negotiate a trail like this better than most dogs half her age. Once we cleared the rocky obstacle course at the top, it was smooth sailing from there, easily picking our way around the cactus patches and moving toward the end of our day to enjoy another stunning Texas sunset in one another's company.
And there it is, another beautiful sunset out here in the Lone Star State. Today worked out really well. Despite us having 370 miles to cover, we crushed it. We've gotten through all of our county targets, and our next stop is going to be Carrizo Springs to go ahead and wrap up our day. We started our morning off in Kerrsville and had that awesome view out from Magic Island. From there, we made our way all the way down to Uvalde and eventually going to wrap it up in Carrizo Springs. But without a doubt, today's golden winning town was Bandera. I absolutely loved that stop. Once we got there, I went through every target on my list and then a couple more because we were having so much fun there. They had some great earth caches, of course a beautiful courthouse. Being the cowboy capital of Texas, they had a lot of celebration of that heritage, and they had fantastic geocaches. I ended up giving quite a few favorite points there, and there are quite a few that have a lot of favorite points. If you are a geocacher in southern Texas, you should definitely put a map dot on Bandera and make sure you have a run through that town, because there's a lot to do there. To be perfectly honest, I could spend the entire day and it would have been a good time. We've only got a few days worth of Texas left in front of us. All of the counties we have left and all of the pages run along the southern border of the state, just north of Mexico. We'll be spending the next few days there before we finally finish off the state and pop out to New Mexico. And I'm hoping we're going to get to see a lot of that desert beauty over the next few days. Like this video, subscribe to stay tuned for daily updates, and we'll see you out on the trails.